All right, good afternoon, all. We are all welcome. We'll soon be starting. Please, if you can hear me, just signify. Can we all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, thank you so much. So we'll soon be starting. Just give us a few minutes. Let's allow
All
more
right.
people to join in.
All right.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We are all welcome to ISEF's monthly, online monthly session. And for the sake of those who are just joining us for the first time this month, ISEF is Innocent Chukwemeka Chukuma Empowerment. The foundation was established in 2022, and it was established to honor the values of a great man, Mr. Innocent Chukwemeka Chukuma, a criminologist, a social justice sector specialist. And our vision at ISEF is to have an inclusive society where young women and men are positively impacting their communities and driving positive change. And one of the ways we are doing that presently is via this online mentorship section, where we invite people that are doing well, also young people that are doing well in various sectors. We usually have it every month like this towards the end of the month. And this month's own also promises to be a great time, as we are going to be unraveling the mystery of getting a scholarship and fellowship opportunity by God's grace, it's a masterclass. We have been having it for the past 2 years now, like this every month, and it has been free. Very soon we are going to be monetizing it, but for now it is still free. So please, I want us to just put in our best into this class today, so that we can get the best of it today. So our facilitator is already here. We're just trying to take our time a little, so that we can allow people to come in before we kickstart. So you're all welcome. Just let's sit back, relax. It promises to be a great time today. All right, well, welcome. Like I said earlier, this is ISEF's online mentorship session. We have been having it for quite some time, and it has been a wonderful time. We learn a lot. It is still free for now. Like I said earlier, very soon we are going to be monetizing it. So I think we can start. Our facilitator is here already. Let me quickly take the profile of our facilitator. Her name is Uwakmfon. Uwakmfon is an advocate for women's rights and a committed supporter of entrepreneurship as a vehicle for empowerment. With over 5 years of dedicated service in the development sector, she has honed her skills and forged meaningful connection to create lasting impact. Her journey in community service was marked by a significant milestone, and she was honored with NYC Honors Award for her exceptional contribution. This recognition motivates her commitment to effective positive change at the grassroots level. As the founder of Flourish Africa, she's focused on advocating for women's rights through digital skills, training, and entrepreneurship. The organization serves as a strength of hope for women in rural community seeking to break free from societal constraint. To further build her skills, she has gotten certificates in non-profit and leadership management from the prestigious Lagos Business School. As a fellow of the Young African Leaders Initiative, the Changemaker Fellowship, and Innocent Chukwuma's Social Impact Fellowship, she has been privileged to collaborate with visionary leaders and changemakers. Additionally, her role as a sustainable leader for United People Global, based in Switzerland, empower her to inspire young individuals to understand their civic rights and actively contribute to a brighter future. She's also a 30 under 30 SDGs 5 award winner and the author of Balancing Love and Purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's welcome Miss Uwakmfon. I hope I pronounced the name very well. Miss Insa, hope I didn't murder the name. I can barely hear you, ma. Please unmute
Sorry.
your mic.
I didn't
Okay.
know I was muted. Sorry. I said
Okay.
you've tried your bit. It's not your language, so it's fine. I can
Okay.
pardon you.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Please over to you, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Abayomi, for the warm introduction. Though that is my old bio, but it's fine.
Okay.
Next time I will share the updated one with you. It's fine. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you also for inviting me to be on the session today. It was always a privilege, to be here, to share my knowledge and experience with the professionals, young professionals, and then we learn and grow together. So it's really a privilege to be here today. And to Innocent Chukuma, ICCEF, well done on the great job you are doing. And I want to also say thank you to everyone who joined this session today. I'm really excited to be with you here and to learn with you and for us to grow together. So today we are going to be talking about scholarship and fellowship applications. And before we get right in, I would love to share a little of my story with us, how it all started. I am also a Chefney alumna. How did this start? It all started, I think, in 2023. Yeah, I would say 2023, when I was selected for the Innocent Chukuma Social Impact Fellowship. I think the program started online, and then somewhat we had the final celebration, learning and all of that in Lagos for 1 week. And I was also kind of, there was this, in the fellowship, there was this opportunity that you have to be to be linked with like a peer partner where you have to learn together and then ask questions, review your assignments and all of that. So my peer partner happened to be a Chefney alumni 2022. And I was super excited because I think we got talking, and then I shared my goals. I shared my desire to, have a scholarship, to go outside the country, to study and all of that. I studied technical education in my undergrad, and then I transitioned from education to the development space. And I never had a degree to show my background in the space, right? So sometimes when there is opportunity for different application, maybe applying for a job and all of that in the space, I kind of, because they will need people in the development space, they will need a degree in the development space, social work and all of that, social science. So I didn't have something like that, and it was a bit limiting. And I needed opportunity for a scholarship program to go, study and then to back up my career path. And along the line, yeah, I also told myself, I think when I finished my BSc, I told myself that I was not going to, if I'm going for my master's, it will not be with my money. I need to have a scholarship to, do my master's and all of that. And that happened when I was selected for Innocent Chukuma. I met Tehemen, and then I shared my goals with him. And he mentioned to me that, oh, I'm a Chefney alumna, I'm going to guide you and all of that. I was so excited. So before then, I started researching about different scholarship, and I came across the Chefney scholarship. I visited their website. I read. I did a whole lot of research on the Chefney scholarship. And finally, when I met with Tehemen, the application opened. I put in my application, and Tehemen worked with me, guided me through, reviewed my application. And in the end, I was selected for the scholarship. I was super, super excited. Now, why am I sharing this story? I'm sharing this story because it's not just, it's not just enough for you to, come across this and then put in this application. You also need a mentor, someone to put you through, someone who has walked that path to be able to put you through, to be able to guide you on, how you can go about the whole thing. It makes the whole work easier, right? And then when you also have this opportunity to, have this scholarship, you don't just need to, play over it. This particular door open doors for other great opportunities, right? So mentorship is very important, and that is why we are on this session today. Because when you learn from people who have walked the path, it makes the whole work easier for you. Next slide, please. All right, so today, like I mentioned, we are talking about scholarships and fellowship, and why scholarship and why fellowship. So first, scholarship and fellowship gives you access to education. It gives you access to, to upgrade your knowledge, to upgrade your skills, to go for your maybe BSc, for your BSc, for your master's, for your PhD program. So it gives you that access to learn. Whether you are going for a scholarship or you are going for a fellowship, it gives you access to learn. It gives you access to that education. It gives you access to global opportunities, right? You are able to, meet other people, able to apply for different opportunities. It gives you that wider kind of mindset. It builds your capacity, builds your strength, builds your ability, and then give you that opportunity to have connection to different global opportunities. And then it also helps you in your career growth. It helps you in your career growth. Like I mentioned, if, for instance, you studied a particular, a different course, maybe in your BSc, and then you want to transition from that particular course or career to a different career, this, gives you opportunity to trade, like to have something to back up that career path that you are transitioning into. It builds your leadership exposure. It provides funding for you. Now, I studied global social development. Remember, I mentioned that my first course in my BSc was technical education. And now I did my master's program in the UK, and I studied global social development. And that was one thing I like about the Sheffield Scholarship, because it gives you opportunity to study any course as far as you are able to have admission in any of the UK schools. And then you have the Sheffield Scholarship, you have the right to study any course, whether you studied law in your BSc, whether you studied sciences, whatsoever you study in your BSc does not affect what you study in your master's. So that's one good thing about the Sheffield, and that was why I specifically liked and chose the Sheffield Scholarship, because I did education and I did not want to kind of, go in that line. I never wanted to be a classroom teacher. I never just wanted to, wake up in the morning and then go to the classroom to teach. I wanted to explore other career paths, and then my passion really lies in the development space. And Sheffield gave me the opportunity to, have my BSc in education and have my master's in global social development, which is in line with what I am currently doing. So while studying at UEA, I studied at the University of East Anglia. While studying at UEA has this platform, they call it the Enterprise Center, for students who are into businesses, who are entrepreneurs, social enterprises, and then maybe you have an idea, or you want to build your own enterprise, or you are already doing something, you have your own enterprise exist already.
It's so hard breaking.
So you have your own enterprise exist already, and then you want to develop your skills, you want to build your capacity, and of course, you also want to get funding. So this was one thing UEA did for me. In the process of having the scholarship, I enrolled myself in the Enterprise Center, and I was given a mentor who is still mentoring me till today in the aspect of, building my own organization and ensuring that I have that proper structure. And after the whole training and the mentorship, I applied for funding. Yeah, so you also have to put in your application, and then if your application stands out, you are able to win the grant. And that was how we're able to win grants from the University of East Anglia to implement some of the projects that we are doing in our organization today. So scholarships or fellowship opportunities give you access to some of those things. That is why I said we don't need to take it for granted. For the fact that I went to study, I didn't just focus on only studying. I know that as I go, I think there's this thing we used to say in Nigeria, allow the school to pass through and also pass through the school, something like that, right? So you don't only need to go there and then focus on only book. You need to explore other aspects. And in the process of exploring that aspect was what led me to registering for the social enterprise training. And then I also pushed for the mentorship and applied for the grant, and we won. It was a very exciting moment for us as an organization. So scholarships and fellowship also gives you opportunity to network. Till today, I still have those people. I traveled to the UK, I studied, and I came back to Nigeria, but I still have my network. I still reach out to them. They still support the work that I do. We are currently planning a conference for Flourish Africa, and we have support from the people that I met in the UK till today. So it gives you access to that network. It gives you international experience. It has a way of building your confidence and credibility. To be honest, if you leave your home or leave your country and go to another country and see the way people do things, especially a country like the US, the UK, if you see the way younger people do things, maybe you are 30 and you see the way a 15 or 16 or 18-year-old child will be confident at speaking to people, taking the stage, you will develop that confidence. To be honest, you will learn to develop that confidence, because I know that somehow our country have a way of limiting us, but these people have advantage over us because of how the infrastructure they have, how things are structured, how they are groomed over there is quite different. But the opportunity to have a scholarship or to have a fellowship to travel to some of this country also help build your confidence and helps build your credibility. That is why you don't need to take such opportunity for granted. When you have opportunity to travel out, utilize it, use it effectively, and always want to be the best. I remember when I was in school, I told myself that when I leave UEA, I want my name to be in that school. Even when I'm not there anymore, anyone that comes there, the lecturer, my mentor, or whosoever came in contact with me will be able to always mention my name. Oh, Uwakmfon, she was a very nice student. She was this, she was that. My name should be left there. My name should be there. That's legacy. They should always refer to me like, do you know this person? Go and look up for this person. Go and reach out to this person and stuff like that, right? So when you have this opportunity, you need to learn to utilize it effectively. Don't just go study and come back, but utilize every of it, right? So next slide, please. Yeah, so let's look at the difference between scholarship and fellowship. Now, scholarship mainly focus on academic studies, right? Maybe you want to do your master's, you want to do your BSc, you want to do your PhD. Scholarship gives you access to that. And then most scholarship or all the scholarship, most or if not all, will cover your tuition fee, will cover your books, will cover your living expenses. So the scholarship, like the Sheffner scholarship, they will pay your flights, to and fro. They'll give you stipend every month. You'll be paid stipend. Your school fee is covered. Your textbook is covered. Everything is covered. And then you're still being given stipend every month. And you are given your flight ticket to and fro. And if you want to visit home, yeah, though they might not give you that, but they give you the opportunity. If you want to visit home and then give them a tangible reason why you want to visit home, you have the opportunity to visit home, come back, and then see your family, and then go back to the UK and all of that. So it was that flexible. Like I mentioned, that was one of the reasons I chose the Sheffner scholarship. It's that flexible. And then scholarships can be merit-based or can be need-based. So when we say merit-based, I will still use the Sheffner as an example, where you need to put in different application. You put in different application, you pass through different screening processes, and then you get the scholarship. So that means you submitted application just like every other person, and you were selected for an interview, and then you passed the interview. They gave you unconditional offer. You now try to get all the criteria and pass them for you to get the unconditional offer and all of that. That is merit-based. But need-based can be maybe your place of work, for instance. Maybe you are exceptional, they love your skill, but they still need you maybe to further your education, and your organization decide to say, okay, we are going to send you outside the country to go and study, but there's a condition. When you go there to study, when you come back, you need to stay with us for like 2 years, 1 year, 3 years before you can proceed. So that's need-based. The organization see your need at that particular time. They want you to be there because you offer value, and they want you to be there, but they also need you to upgrade, so they send you out. So that's need-based kind of scholarship. And the one that you have to apply, pass through the screening and all of that, is the merit-based. And then scholarship basically focus on degree completion. You have to go and complete your degree, masters, PhDs, PhD, BSc. And then the fellowship focus on leadership. So fellowship focus on building your leadership capacity, like the Innocent Chukuma Social Impact Fellowship. We have some other fellowships. So those ones focus mainly on building your leadership capacity. And then it's also, if you're into research, it helps you with your research skill, your innovation skill. It helps you with your professional growth in the particular field that you are. It helps you to grow professionally. Most of the certifications that I have today in this field are from fellowship. right? I have attended lots of fellowship. I've attended, if not up to 10 different fellowships since I started working in the development space, and I have certifications. So most of the certification I have professionally came from fellowships, and this is opportunity fellowship gives to you. And all of these fellowships that I've attended, they are all free. There's no one I've paid money. I've traveled to different African countries. I've also traveled outside of Africa, and all of these fellowships are all paid for, fully funded, right? And then they still give me certificate at the end. Then they are usually short term. So some will be 6 months, some would be 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 month. So they are short term, they are not long term kind of program. They basically focus on training and exchange and programs. And also they give you room for mentorship. I have different mentors. I won't even lie. I have different mentors because of different programs that I have, subscribed for. I have different mentors. Each of those programs always come with a mentor. I currently have a mentor in one of the programs I'm currently doing, and then the mentor has experience in HR, and it's a very good opportunity for us as an organization because the mentor helps me in building the human resource aspect of my organization. Whenever we have conversation, I ask her a lot of questions about staffing, the structuring, how we do this, how we should do this, what should we do next, and it helps. So mentorship, fellowship gives you opportunity for mentorship and for networking, and all of these things helps you build your professional. It helps you professionally. If you're someone that owns organization, it also helps you grow your organization professionally. It also focuses on skill development and, of course, career advancement as well. Abayomi, please, the next slide. Okay, so now, how should you start, right? Should you just apply for scholarship or fellowship because your friend is doing it, or because your neighbor wakes up one day and tell you, hey, Abayomi, I've gotten a scholarship, I'm going to the US to study. And then you say, me too, I must get the scholarship. And then you start applying, you just start putting application. It's not done that way. First, you need to start with your goal, right? You need to start with your goal. What do you want to achieve? So you cannot start applying for any fellowship or any scholarship if you don't have a direction, if you don't have a goal. What do you want to achieve? Where are you going? Because this opportunity come in different, they have like different criteria. So for instance, I am in the gender space. Another person might be in the climate space. Another person might be in the technology space. Another person might be in the education space, right? So I am in the gender. If I see program in health, it's not really in alignment with what I want. So it might not really intrigue me to go for it. And even if I go for it, I might not meet the criteria because what they need, it might not be what they might need. Degree from maybe one health education or stuff, and I don't have such, right? So you need to start with your goal, and you need to know what you want to achieve. You also need to have a niche. You need to have a niche. Are you in the gender? Are you in the climate? Are you in technology? Are you in education? What are you advocating for? So once you're able to identify your niche, that will guide you to applying for the right fellowship or the right scholarship program, because some scholarship wants you to kind of what you studied in your BSc is what you should study in your master. There's scholarship like that, you cannot change it, whereas some you can change, right? But some will also focus on your career. Maybe you're currently in the development space, and then that particular scholarship is only for people who are in the development sector. So you need to understand what you want to achieve. You need to know your goal. You need to have a niche. What interests you? You cannot apply because every other person is applying for it, right? And then your academic growth is also important. Are you seeking for scholarship just for your academic growth, or are you looking for a fellowship for your professional growth? So you need to understand if you're looking for a scholarship or a program for your academic growth. You need to also think about your career advancement. Are you transitioning from one career path to the other? Like I mentioned earlier, I did education in my BSc, and I am currently in the development space, and I did global social development in my MSc. Now I transitioned from just being a teacher in a classroom to, also, though I'm still applying the teaching skill, but in the development space, I get to the community, I communicate with the young ones, I talk to them, we train them in developing their skill. So I transition from a classroom teacher to the development work. And that also helped me to kind of choose the right scholarship for me, because I don't want to just have a degree in education. I want to have a degree to back up my career. So are you looking for career advancement? You should understand your goal. What do you want? If you're looking for career advancement, if you're transitioning from one career to the other, you can now look out for the right opportunity. Even some of our alumni in the Chefney, some of them are doing their third, fourth masters. We have people who were currently doing their third masters as at that time using the Chefney scholarships. Chefney give you opportunity, even if you have done masters before and you still want to do master in another course, they give you the opportunity as far as you are able to get admission in the UK university, right? So if you are looking for an opportunity to transition from one career path to the other and you need a degree to back that up, scholarship is okay, and there are scholarships that allow that. So you need to understand what you want, where you are going. You need to also have a niche. Are you looking to develop your leadership skill? Which fellowships are the right platform for you to do that? Now, your goals determines the right program and your strategy. So when you have goals in mind, when you know where you're going, when you have niche, those stuff would determine the right program and the right strategy for you to apply while looking for scholarships and fellowships. Abayomi, please, the next slide. All right, so how to find the right opportunities? How do you find right opportunities? First, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very nice platform for you to look out for opportunities. And then I will also mention that if you have not subscribed to LinkedIn Pro and then you have the capacity to do that, please go ahead and subscribe to LinkedIn Pro. When you subscribe to LinkedIn Pro, you have more opportunities. You'll be able to come across different opportunities, and then you can look out for the ones that is in line with what you are interested in and apply. And then Opportunity Dex is another platform that you can see opportunity. They are on Facebook, they are on Instagram, they have, I think they also have a website, so you can look out for them. If you are not already following Opportunity Dex, please check them out on Facebook, on Instagram, I think on Twitter as well, and you can also search their website. Scholarship.com, I'm currently I'm also on this platform, scholarships.com. They have a WhatsApp. Possibly, Abayomi, you can maybe reach out to me. I can share the link to this WhatsApp platform for you to share in the mentees group. Yeah, so if they want to join the platform, they can do that. So this platform shares scholarship opportunity every blessed day. They share local, international, national. So any kind of scholarship that you are looking for, this scholarships.com, they share those opportunity, and I can share the WhatsApp link if you want to join the platform. There is that also is also a scholarship, and it's organization that gives the scholarship as well. The Chefney and Commonwealth, Mastercard, Erasmus, Discover Opportunity also. Discover Opportunity is our partner. Is one of our partners, and then they also have they also share different opportunities. I also have their WhatsApp platform. I can also share with Abayomi to share in the mentees group so that you can subscribe for them. So follow all of these organizations on their different social media platform. You don't just need to follow them. For you to be able to have access to scholarships or fellowship, you need to research. Every week, I apply for at least 3 to 4 different applications. And I will not say I get selected for all, but that is my, I don't know if I should call it my hobby. I think that's the right word. I enjoy applying for opportunities, and I always get selected. Not all of them, but most of them, I always get selected. So you need to research. You need to do a whole lot of research. They will not come to you. They will not come and knock on your doors. They will not just come to your inbox like that. You need to every morning. So what I do myself is once I get to my office, check my emails, attend to some things. I will just maybe around 12, I'll just go to all of this platform and check out for new opportunity that they have posted. If I see the one that align with my interest, I save the deadline. Once I save the deadline, I will share the link and pin them on my tab. And that is how it keeps me, pinning them on my tab reminds me that, oh, I have an application to submit. I have an application to submit. So you can also replicate that. So just maybe every day, just keep a particular time frame. You just go to this platform and check out the different opportunities that they posted. Like Opportunity Dex post opportunity every blessed day. Scholarship.com post opportunity every day. I discover opportunities, post opportunities every day, every blessed day. So what you need to do is just, keep checking, keep researching, and keep applying. Keep checking, keep researching, and keep applying. They will not come to you. You have to research and look for the ones that meet your interest. Abayomi, the next slide, please. All right, so how do you know if an opportunity fits you? How do you know? First, you have to look at the eligibility criteria. So different applications requires different eligibility criteria. There are some that will, they will need people from 18 to 20, some 18 to 20. I think the highest one in that I always come across is always 18 to 35 years, right? So that means that for you to even have access to opportunity, you also need to, act fast, because by the time your age range passes a particular, you might not really have access to this, except except you have opportunity that you build partnership and all of that with these people, and then they can be kind of inviting you for this opportunity. But I feel like maybe once you pass 40, you might not really, to apply and get selected might be very difficult, except on connections. Maybe you've been part of different programs. They just invite you for different trainings, different programs, or they invite your organization and all of that. So you need to check the age requirements, and then the academic background. Some will require that you submit your certificate, your degree certificate, and all of that. So you also need to check the academic background. Some require years of experience. There are some that will require 10 years experience. Some will require 7 years, 2 years, 1 year, 6 years. So you just need to check if you meet those experiences. And one thing I also noticed in this application is that you have to be doing something, right? You have to be doing something for you to be able to meet up with some of this. That is why volunteering is very, very important. And I know that I think in the last year's session, they talked about volunteering. I'm not sure if that has been done this year. Volunteering is very, very important, because even when I was applying for Chefney, for me to be able to meet up with, they needed, you must have like 18,000 hours experience, something like that. So they were calculating it in hours, and I think it was like 18,000, something like that. So if you have not done anything, you cannot meet up with that criteria, right? So you need to start volunteering even while you were in school. I started development work a little bit while doing my NYC, and that was how I got the state award. So you need to start doing something, because when they ask you, they said they need people with 10 years experience, 5 years, 3 years, and then you just finish school and you were not doing anything. So even while in school, learn to volunteer with organizations, volunteer. If you study a particular thing, then look out for organization that does stuff in line with what you are studying or what interests you. Or if you want to learn about other field, you can volunteer to, be your skill even while you are still in school. This gives you a leverage of the years of experience, so that by the time you finish school and you come across some of these opportunities and they say they need 6 years, you've already had, you're not just a student, you were working, you were volunteering, which is part of working somewhere while you were studying, and that gives you these years of experience, right? So you need to learn to volunteer even while you are studying. So, and then some are country specific. There are some that will say Nigerians are not inclusive. There are some that will say only Kenya, only South Africa, and all of that. You need to read the eligibility criteria and be sure that this is in line. That you are in line with the criteria, right? And then some requires documents. Review all the required documents. If you are going for scholarship, you might need to have a transcript, right? So if you have not applied for your transcript already in school, you might need to do that. Apply for your transcript, and then I think in Nigerian school it might take a little bit of time, but that is why you need to start the application early. Some requires recommendation letter, and recommendation letter does not need to come from your family. There was some application specifically state that no family member should give you recommendation, which means that there should be someone maybe from your school, your lecturer, someone in the professional setting, a mentor, you know, your former place of work, your boss, and all of that. But you must, you know, have a recommendation letter. And then, of course, essay. There's always an essay applications and then some certifications. So there are some certificates that they might require, maybe a birth certificate, marriage certificate. So when I was applying for Chefney did not ask me for marriage certificate, but the school that I applied to required that because my degree carried my maiden name. And when I got married, I changed my name to my husband's name, right? And when I got married, I did not just do, because I know I'm in the development space and I will be traveling a lot and I will be looking for opportunities as well. So when I got married, I told my husband that I don't just need the traditional or the church, we need to do courts, because I know that will also help me when I'm trying to look out for global opportunities. So I did a court wedding as well, right? So when I applied to study at UEA, they requested my court marriage certificate and my newsletter publication. Those are the requirements. I think there was someone that actually reached out to me to ask this. There was someone that reached out to me to ask this question. I told the person, you are married and you might need to have, the person was like, I did not do. So court marriage is also very important. So if you are getting married or you're already married, please, you might also plan to kind of, you know, look for way to do your court marriage, because that certificate is very important, right? So they require my court wedding certificate and they require my newspaper publication. And because I have done this immediately after my wedding, I did this, I did my newspaper and everything. It was easier for me. And they gave a very short time frame for those documents to be submitted. So I didn't have to run helter-skelter looking for how to go and do this. How do I do this? Who should I ask? I've already done them and keep. So that is preparation. So you need to make sure that if you're looking out to applying for opportunities, if you're looking out to go global, if you're looking out to, you know, be traveling on a fully funded scholarship, you need to try and prepare your document ahead of time. Now, it's not just about applying. Be sure that the program goals align with your own goals, right? Be sure that the program goals align with your own goals. What are your goals? What are your values? Be sure that they align, because no organization will also want to, you know, give anyone a scholarship or a fellowship when they don't have alignment. If your program does not align with the organization program, it might not really work. And then you too, your program goal does not align. The program is doing something in health and you're doing something in education, and that alignment is not really there, right? So you must read to be sure that the program's goals and value align with yours. Next slide, please. All right, so the document you should always prepare: updated CV, updated CV. I've seen people who use one CV to apply for everything. One CV. Let's say that maybe they finished school sometimes in 2000, and then when they finished, they started working as, maybe they were teaching as teacher in school, and then now they've transitioned maybe from teaching to another career path. They don't update their CV, and then they suddenly now see maybe opportunity in the media space, and maybe they've been doing this by the side, but it's not reflected on their CV, and then they saw an opportunity, maybe a vacancy in the media organization, and then they just forward their teaching CV to the media organization. Nobody's going to accept it, because there's nothing showing that you have experience in the media space, right? So please update your CV. If when you prepare the CV, you had like 2 years experience and now you've gotten like 5 years, please go back and update your CV. I know some people feel lazy doing that. Just go back and update your CV to meet your years of experience. If maybe when you prepared the CV, you only had experience in just one field, and now because the world is going global, people are doing different things even when they did not study that thing. And then you've done a whole lot of things and you know that you've built skill around that area. Please let it reflect on your CV. Don't use one CV to apply for everything. And then then always be sure that what you're applying for also reflects in your CV, right? And then your academic transcript, please, if you've not done that, reach out to your school already and then request for your academic transcript. Your international passport is very, very important. And if you know that your international passport is about 2 months to expiration, please don't use it to apply. Just go and renew your passport, because some organization will not even accept. Because most programs, what if you're going for a 6-month program and then your international passport is just left with 2 months to expire? It will not work. And if it expires, they might not even accept it. They might even ask you to go back, right? So before it's too late, if you know that it's 2 months and you are selected for a particular program, please just try and look for a way to renew your international passport. Recommendations letter is very important. That is why it's good to build good relationship with people. If you were a student, don't fight with your lecturer, because a particular application might require that it's your lecturer that should give you recommendation. And when you were in school, you were fighting with your lecturer and calling the person bad person. How will you reach out to that person to give you recommendation, right? So recommendation, don't fight with your boss. If you're leaving a particular place of work, leave peacefully, leave amicably. Don't fight and leave, because you might need that person to give you recommendation. And imagine that there are some applications that they'll ask you to put the person's name. And then imagine you put your boss's name, and then you had insulted your boss, and you feel like the person has forgotten because maybe the person did not react in a certain way. And then you put the person's name, the person now gives bad recommendation. The organization will not reach out to you. So when you're leaving a particular place of work, don't fight with your boss, just leave peacefully, because that person might need to recommend you. And then when you are in a particular place of work, put in your best, and then be among the best, that when you leave, the organization feels your impact. With that, you always be happy to reach out to your boss. I remember one of my bosses I was working with till today. I still reach out to him. I still refer people to his organization, right? I still work with him, even when I'm not in the organization again. And then personal statement is also very important. Personal statement is also very important. In the slide, in the comment slide, we'll see how we can write our personal statement. Then your certificate and your portfolio. Please build a good portfolio, right? So if you are using LinkedIn as your portfolio, put something great out there. Put something great, something professional. Talk about your work. Talk about the things that you are currently doing, and then put the pictures out there. Use that to also be your portfolio, so that if someone reaches out and, oh, I want to know more about you, can you share your maybe link social media posts and social media handle and stuff like that? That might serve as your portfolio, and then you can reach out to that person with your LinkedIn handle, and the person will check you out. And of course, when the person check you out and they like the work that you are doing, the person can decide to work with you. Abayomi, I think the slide is off. Are you there? I'm trying to. Okay.
Yes, I'm with you.
Keep all these documents organized in one folder, so that when you need them, you can easily just go back to them. All right, next slide, please. Next slide, please, Abayomi. Okay, so let's talk about the common mistakes applicants make while applying for either scholarship or fellowship programs. So first, they apply without reading instructions. There are people like that. Those kind of people, we call them lazy applicants. They are just lazy. Why are you applying when you don't read instructions, right? So we call them lazy applicants. What they do is they don't read the instruction. They just want to apply and walk away, right? So, and most of these applications have word counts and all of that. And if you miss the word count, you might be disqualified, right? There are some that they might put a restriction on the page. So once it passes that word count, you cannot, continue. But there are some that they just put the word count and leave it. So even if you type 500 words, it might still submit. But when they go to, check and then try to record and then score you, they notice that they needed 300 and you've already put 500, and that might lead to disqualification. So don't be a lazy applicant. Read the instruction very well, and then don't do generic application. What people do is generic application, right? So Abayomi, the slide is not showing again, and I want everybody to follow. I can still present without it on the screen, but I just want people on the call to also follow the slide as well. So generic application, some people do generic application, right? So what they do is the application that they have submitted, maybe in my organization, we do what we call the Flourish Creators Fellowship, for instance, where we train young people in video editing. And now let's say that person has applied for Flourish Creators Fellowship and has written the, the essay question and all of that. And then there's another application that comes up, maybe still in the digital space, but for another organization. And the person will just carry the application he or she has made for Flourish Creators Fellowship and then submit maybe for Chukuma Social Impact Fellowship. Yeah. So that is generic. The person is not just reading; it's just carrying different application of one application. What the application that he has, the essay he has written for one application and submit it for the other, and submit it for the next, submit it for the next. That's being lazy, right? You need to read, because what's the criteria we need for Flourish Creators Fellowship might not be the same criteria the other person. The question might look similar, but trust me, the responses might not be the same, right? So you don't need to do that. People do that, just copy and paste, copy and paste. Some people even go to ChatGPT and then just put in the question and then copy. This thing, they need your own feeling. They need your own story, right? So by the time ChatGPT cannot give you your story. It cannot write your story for you. That's the truth. So by the time you just go and copy ChatGPT and paste, you might be disqualified. And then most application also uses AI to read, to detect AI. it's quite funny. They use AI to detect AI, right? So by the time they use AI and detect that this work is also AI work, right? You might be disqualified. And then weak personal story. I love this particular point 3. Right? Because story is everything. I always tell everyone that I mentor that story is everything. You must have a personal story, because there is something that intrigues you to start the work that you are doing. You will not tell me that you just woke up from your bed one day and say you want to be a teacher, or you want to be in the health space, or you want to be a development practitioner. It's not possible. There's something that motivates you to want to do that work. That thing could be your experience. It could be maybe experience of a neighbor, experience of a friend, but there's something that will trigger you. There's something that will motivate you to want to advocate for a particular thing. So my story is very unique, and my story is different from your story. I started advocating for women and then providing them with skill, because I lost my mother to gender-based violence, because she did not have a skill and she did not have a job. She was dependent on her husband. And this led to her untimely death. She died out of gender-based violence. And this is one motivation that keeps me going, to ensure that every woman have a skill, to ensure that no woman depend on a man, so that doesn't lead to a kind of violence, abuse, and all of that. So I remember telling this story during my interview for Chefne, and the white man that interviewed me almost cried. And the woman was like, "Are you sure you're okay? Do you need some water? Are you sure you can continue? Do you need to take a break?" And I was like, "I'm fine, I'm okay." It touches. So your story must be emotional. It must touch whosoever you're telling that story to. Imagine the children that have been kidnapped from school, growing up to start advocating against insecurity and stuff like that, and then telling their story. It will be touching. So there should be something that motivates you to do the work that you're currently doing, and that is your personal story. And you should not be ashamed of telling your personal story, because every application will always ask you what motivates you. What is that motivation, right? So your personal story is very important, and it should not be a weak story. All right, Abayomi, the next slide, please. Okay, so let's look at how to avoid. I think we are on how to avoid these mistakes. First, you need to read the instruction carefully. Don't skim. Don't skim. Sit down and read it word to word. Understand every requirement. Understand everything that they need. Then tailor your application to align with what the organization value and your value. Tailor it to align with the organization value. So you need to research the organization. So you don't just need to wake up and apply. When I see application, like I said, I research a lot, and then I bring them to my tab. What I do is next, I go to their website, and then I look them up. That helps me to discover organizations that are just maybe have passed that stage, right? The organization, they are just also starting and all of that. And I'm like, no, this application is not for me. I cannot apply for it, because it's not every application that is for you. So when you're able to do all of those research, it will help you to understand what this organization is all about, if what they are doing align with what you're interested in, or if you've even passed that stage of the training and then there's no point applying for it again, right? So you need to do a tailored research, and then you need to do a thorough research and then tailor your application to meet the organization's requirements and their vision. Then start early. I will always advise that you start your application early. There are people that do it 1 day to the closing or 3 days to the deadline, and luckily they are selected, but it might not work for everybody. So you need to start your application early so that you have the time to keep reading through it, give it to mentor to help you read through it, give it to friend, give it to family. So start your application early. Next slide, please. Okay, so how to write a strong personal statement. I said we are going to come to this. How to write a strong personal statement. It is a personal statement, so it is personal to you. So my own statement is also personal to me. That is why it is called personal statement, right? So personal statement is different from cover letter. It's not the same thing as cover letter. You don't need to address it to anybody. You don't need to say, put address, put there, say dear sir, dear man. No, you don't need to write it as if you're writing a cover letter. It's quite different from cover letter. Just go straight and write your personal statement. Just like writing your essay. Go straight and write your personal statement. No address, no nothing. So your personal statement should carry who you are. You share your background, you share your value, you share what drives you, you share the challenges that shaped you. Then why this opportunity? You have to talk about why you're applying for that opportunity. So why this opportunity? And you have to share clear alignments between that opportunity and your own goals, and then tell your story, share your personal story, not just telling your achievement, right? Tell a compelling story. What shaped you? How has it changed you? What impact have you made? So your personal story should try to, reflect all of these things. So I'm trying to rush over it about you because I don't know how long I'm supposed to be here. So the next slide, please. Okay, so let's look at still on writing your personal story. So you start with an introduction, your background, your motivation, you are social person from social place, or you're social person, you study social stuff, and you are interested in this and that, and then what motivates you to get into that field? Okay, I am a Uwakmfon, and I'm passionate about women's rights, and I advocate for women's rights. My motivation start from when I lost my mother, something like that. So you start it with a bit of your background, your introduction, and state your motivation. And then you can talk about your professional journey, what shaped you, your academic journey. You can mention that you studied social stuff at social school, and then your professional journey. Oh, I was a teacher. I transitioned to being a teacher because of this experience and all of that. Then you talk about your goals. You can talk about your short-term goals, your long-term goals, your medium-term goals, and why that goal is really important. And then why this program, why this organization, why this opportunity. So you talk about why the opportunity, why you're applying for this opportunity, how is it in alignment with your goal? If you are selected, if you have opportunity of being selected, how are you going to utilize it? What will you do? How are you going to make impact, right? And then what impact have you already made? That is why I said volunteering is very important, right? Because most organizations will ask you what impact you've made already. Some organization will not select you if not made impact, and you can make impact through volunteering. Working with that organization, the organization is touching life. You can tell that story as your story. We're part of a team that trained 200 people, and now one person has become a teacher as well and training others. That's an impact, right? So that's why volunteering is very important. You need to talk about your impact, and then how have you been able to give back to the society. Next slide, please, Abayomi. We are almost done. All right, so this is like an excerpt of writing your CV, sorry, not CV, personal statement. So this is like a kind of example. My professional journey in gender and digital development has exposed me to the inequalities faced by women in underserved communities. Through leading community-based initiative and managing donor-funded projects, I have developed a strong commitment to scalable, impact-driven solution. This program will equip me with the global perspective and technical expertise required to expand my work beyond local boundaries and contribute meaningfully to international development practice. So this is just a short example. So this is not like a complete one. This is just like a short example of how to write your personal statement. Okay, the next slide. So how to answer essay questions, right? So before you jump into answering essay questions, you have to understand the question. So you have to read and understand the question. Make sure that you understand the question and understand what they are asking. Because I noticed that every year, Stephanie has some ineligible application, like people answer no for yes and yes for no because they don't really understand the question. And truly, if you don't read it very well, it could be very confusing. So there's this question that is, do you have any criminal record, something like that. Some persons can understand in different way and say yes instead of no, right? So those kind of yes and no question could be very confusing. So you need to read very well and ensure that you understand the question. And then watch out for keywords like leadership, like impact, like sustainability, innovation. Watch out for those keywords. And then during your writing, that's what we call the STAR approach. Always use the STAR approach format. Use the STAR approach format. Stay focused on your questions, show reflection and learning. Use the STAR approach format or method. Next slide, please. So the STAR approach, we are going to talk about the STAR approach, and the STAR approach method is A stand for situation. Situation is like the context, it's like the problem. What problem have you identified, right? What problem are you identified? And the T is the task. What was your responsibility? Okay, you've identified the problem. Now, what is your own responsibility in this problem? You get to a rural community and you realize that children are not going to school, right? That is a problem. Children are not in school. Now, your responsibility is like a task. You need to find out why are children not in school, right? So why are children not in school? Children are not in school, which is like the problem, the context you've identified. Your responsibility is the task. The T there is the task. The STAR approach, T is the task. Why are children not in school? That's your next question, which is the task. And now your action. You've discovered why children are not in school. What action did you take? They are not in school because there are no good roads. They are not in school because there are no chairs in the classroom. They are not in school because there are no teachers. And then if you realize that they are not in school because maybe there are no teachers, what action are you taking? Are you going to help recruit teachers to that school? If it is to fix road, are you going to fix the road? So you have to take that action. Then what result after fixing the road or getting teachers, how many children have been able to get back to school? Or we've had 200 students went back to school. We have 300 students went back to school and all of that. So that is the STAR approach on answering essay questions, especially scholarship questions. So we always have to use the STAR approach. STAR stands for A stand for situation, T stand for task, A stand for action, and R stand for result. And situation is the problem. Task is your own contribution, your own responsibility. And the T is your own responsibility. A is the action, which is your own action. What did you do after you have realized this thing? What did you do? And R is the result. So what is the outcome? What is the impact that you have made after doing this thing? How were people impacted, right? So always, use the STAR approach, especially while answering scholarship questions. Okay, so we'll move to the next slide very fast. And then while I'm answering these questions, you need to be authentic. You need to be original. You need to be you. You don't need to fake. You don't need to lie. Because when you lie during your interview now, they'll now come and ask you. I've had people lie about their age. I've had opportunity of being part of a program that I have to interview a few persons. And then you see that in the application, they might put like they were born in 1992. And then when they come for the interview, they forget, because maybe they've applied for a lot of things. And then they've forgotten that what they put was 1992. And then they now ask them, they now tend to maybe mention their real age or something, right? And then they forgot that in the application they put 1992, and then there's imbalance. It's not valid, right? So you need to be authentic, be you. Use real examples. Don't use ChatGPT example that does not exist. Use real examples. Show impacts with evidence. So you cannot just say we train 200 people. You train 200 people on what and how did it start? So there should be that evidence and back it up with impact. Be specific. Don't be, some people are just generic. They are just everywhere. So don't be generic, be specific, and keep the sentence clear and simple. For the fact that they say a maximum is 500 words doesn't mean that you should write 500 words. You can do 200, you can do 150, you can do 100. Be sure that you are answering the question. Avoid copying and pasting from ChatGPT to your application. Don't do that, please. And focus on your change and growth. And remember, your story is your strength. Your story is your strength. So please, if you do not have a story, go back and think what really motivates you to do the thing you are doing and carve a story around it. So I always guide people on how they can develop their own personal stories to back up with the work that they are doing. So if you need me to do that, you can reach out to Abayomi, and then I'll share some of those tips with Abayomi, and Abayomi will share with everybody. All right, so the next slide, please. Let's look at how, Abayomi, the next slide, please. Recommendation letters, yeah. So recommendation letters, okay. Now, you need your whoever that is recommending you needs to know you very well, right? They need to know you, not, like I mentioned, not your family member, not your mother, not your father, not your sister. It should be people from maybe your place of work. Sometimes they say pastor, some people will say pastor, some people will say your former boss, some people will say your lecturer, someone from your school. But these people should be able to speak good about you professionally. They don't need to know where you were born and all of that, but they need to know you in terms of, professional level, how you can deliver on tasks very well. And then they should be able to speak about your leadership and your character, because when you exhibit bad character, they might also recommend you that this person is no-go area, or this person, once this person is angry and nobody's going to stay in the room, also, please, it's a no-no. So they should be able to speak of your leadership and your character. And then they should be able to kind of, provide specific examples, not just random, right? Not just, they should be able to know your name. They should be able to at least know a little thing about you, that they can be able to be specific. Sometimes these people might not know you immediately, but when they ask them, maybe you reach out to them to recommend it, you can request some of this information, and you should be able to share the real thing, the truth, not, trying to lie about your background. Share the truth with them, and then they can use that to recommend you, because sometimes they might even call your referee to ask them. They call on phone. Some application will say, do you permit us to call your referee? Someone that provided the recommendation, can we call the person on phone? Some will reach out to the person directly via email requesting for the recommendation when you don't even know. So you need to be able to, have good character, and then also allow your referee to know you a little bit, so that the person can provide a good recommendation letter for you. Next slide, please. Okay, building a competitive profile. How do you build a competitive profile? First, your leadership experience, and this will not just happen overnight. You need to, if you're not already working, you need to kind of volunteer to build this experience. And then you need to learn how to behave professionally. There are certain things that you don't need to say. There are certain action you don't need to take. There are certain things you don't need to post on Facebook. It's not everything you have to reshare. Before you reshare somebody's information, verify that such information is true and reliable before you reshare them. Because you're building yourself to be a leader, or you're already a leader, and then you need that good, reputation. So you need to be careful of certain things that you do out there, because people are watching you. You might not know that people are watching you. And in this world today, that small thing, camera, before you know you're online, you don't even know that this person was watching you and videoing you, and you've put your image and everything online. So build your leadership experience. You can do that through volunteering, and also community impact is very important. Even if you are not in the development space, if you have the capacity, once in a while, you can visit the orphanage, you can buy things for the children, you can, go to school and donate some item. Just have that community impact. And then certifications. Please apply for programs to have certifications. There are some free ones that you don't need to put so much. Some you just need to fill your name, email, and then you can take those trainings, some online trainings, right? And then there are some courses you can also get maybe from Udemy and all of that. You don't need to pay so much. You can get those trainings just to have those certifications as well, and to also build your experience. And then be consistent. Be consistent. Don't do it after. Maybe you do it consistently for 1 month. After 1 month, the next time we'll see you again is in 2027. No, you cannot work like that. So you need to be consistent. It's not easy. Success is very difficult. It's hard work, and you need to put in the work. So if you want to be a leader, and if you want to be recognized globally, and then you want to have access to global opportunities, you need to put in the work. You need to be consistent. You need to read. You need to research. You need to do a whole lot. And then, stay consistent at everything that you do. Not be doing it today and tomorrow nobody's hearing from you until maybe the next 2 years before you now resurface, and it's like maybe you went on retirement or something and then you are suddenly back again, right? So stay consistent and start building now. You don't need to start later. Start building now. Now is the right time. Next slide, please. Okay, now let's talk about how to manage rejection. So all of these things, for the fact that you are in this class today or in this session today, doesn't mean that once you go out there and apply, you are going to be accepted, or the door will just start opening. It's a lie. It's not true. This session will give you age, will give you that experience already, will give you that knowledge already, right? But that doesn't mean that you're going to be selected immediately. So you need to learn how to manage rejections. If I tell you the number of rejections I've gotten since January till now, I've applied for more than 10. I've been selected for like 3 or 4. And what happened to the remaining one, right? So rejection will definitely come. So rejection is a natural part of application process. Use it as an opportunity to learn and grow. Don't see it as a bad thing. There are some people that maybe they apply for a particular fellowship and then they were not selected. Then when that application comes on the next time, they will not apply. They will just malice the organization. Not that the organization has done anything to them, but they will malice. They'll say, this organization, I'm not applying. No, don't do that. Just keep trying. There are people there was a guy that shared I don't know if I should call it a testimony, of applying for a particular program like 14 times, for 14 good times, and was finally selected, right? 14 times and was finally selected. 14 good times. So imagine that you apply for one program for 14 times, like your entire life and destiny depends on that program. So that is courage. That is courage. That alone is motivation for another person, right? So don't see it as it's something that you should, just move on and then blank that organization. No, see it as a learning process. Now, seek feedback whenever possible. There are some organizations that when they send you rejection, you can email them requesting for feedbacks, right? And they will definitely give you feedback on what you did or what you know. Some will just give a general feedback, but some, if you request for feedback, they will provide it for you. So seek for feedback, reflect on your application, and identify the areas for improvement so that next time you can do the right thing. Now, remember that many successful professionals face multiple rejections before achieving success. So your journey is unique and resilience is the key. Keep your goals in sight and maintain confidence. Each rejection brings you closer to the right opportunity. Each rejection brings you closer to the right opportunity. Next slide, please. I think that should be all. So thank you so much for listening, and thank you for joining today's session. My name is Uwakmfon, and this is my LinkedIn. Then link to my LinkedIn profile. And then if you need to reach out to me, you can send me an email at nsa@flourishaafrica.org, and I will definitely respond to you. So once again, thank you for joining today's session. I am open to answering your questions. And thank you, Abayomi, for being my slide manager.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for that wonderful session. It was quite impactful. All right, I don't know if you have questions. Questions? Even if you can't speak up, you can just write it, probably at its chat section. I think I can see one question here. This person said, can I use a transcript for scholarship? Because certificate in my school is always slow.
You will, okay, thank you for that question. Yeah, it's a very valid one. So you will use both your transcript and your certificate. They'll require both. So if you want to study maybe master's in another university, you will need to submit your certificate and you will need to submit your transcript. And that is why it's okay to start. It's very important to start early. Like when I was applying for the Chefney scholarship, I told you, I think the application opens sometimes around August, but around February, I was going to their website to check their requirements to know what they are looking for. And that helped me to prepare every document that I needed to prepare. So if you're interested in applying for a particular program and then you know that organization already, please go and then research, because they always have it on their site. Read more about them, look out for the documents, or if you know someone who has worked that part, ask the person of the document that they will need it so that you can start processing it early enough before the application opens up. So they will not only accept only transcript. You will need to submit both transcript and your certificate, degree certificate, if you are going for your master's or your PhD.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, we have another question here. This one is saying, thank you, Ma. Please, I want tips on how to write a strong personal statement. I think that one will be in a mentorship group.
Okay,
probably
so I think we already talked about that in the slide, but if you want me to maybe share something that can be put in the mentorship group, I can do that. But we already talked about that your personal statement should start with a good introduction. It should also start with you should have a personal story to tell, what you want to achieve, why you're applying for that opportunity, right? So your personal statement should cover all of this. But if you need an example, if you need me to maybe put an example and show you how that can go, I can of course do that and share with Abayomi, and Abayomi will put in the mentorship group.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. So if you are not yet part of our mentorship group, I'm sure Nene will be posting the link to join. I'm sure Nene is already doing that. So you can always join our mentorship group on WhatsApp. So there we have all our mentors there. I'm sure Miss Insatu is also there. So she can, respond to any question you have as regards scholarship and fellowship. So I think we have another question here. This person says, thanks for the awesome session. I have people within my team that are still within the widow space of 18 to 35 years that we are encouraging to tap into opportunities such as this. But I would also like to know a little about those opportunities that are available for people working within social space that are above 18 to 35 years, that they can tap into.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So there are different opportunities. I think I came across this fellowship called Elevate Africa, something like that. So I think it opens for people of 18 to like 50 years, but those kind of fellowship is always a very high professional program, because they will require to have like 10 years of experience. So if they're looking for people up to 50 years old, you will have like very good experience, and then you should be a leader. So they specifically mentioned that you can either be a founder, a co-founder, an owner of organization or something. So some of these fellowship beyond 35, it's a very high profile fellowship that might require you to either own an organization, be a leader in your own organization, be maybe the head and all of that. But there are some fellowships that are open to people maybe 18 to 40 as well. I think what we do in Flourisher is we also have our programs is for people from 18 to 45 years, because we know that, of course, a whole lot of programs, once you get to 35, it limits a lot of people. So what you need to do is to check those platforms that we mentioned already, LinkedIn, or Discover Opportunity Decks. Please subscribe to all of those page. I think they are free. Just go and follow them on their different social media platform, and then you can stay updated on all these opportunities. And then you need to keep researching. You need to deliberately go there and look out for them and check out the eligibility criteria. And then if it's something that is within your still within your interest or within your eligibility whatsoever, you can of course apply for it and all of that. So that's what I have to say. But I know one, which is the Elevate Africa. I think it's from 18 to 50 years, and there are many others like that, but you just need to look out for them and find them. So subscribe to all of this platform, and you will definitely come across some of those opportunities.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, we have another question. I was even about to ask something similar to this. This person is asking, how did you get your HIET test
Okay,
for
amazing question.
SOES London? Yeah.
Yeah, amazing
So I was
question.
about to ask that. I was also about to ask that how about some scholarships that require IELTS exams and SAT and the likes of them? How do you go about them?
Yeah, so I wrote IELTS. I wrote IELTS, but there are some schools that will waive it for you. I think UEA actually waive it, but if you have a WAEC, I did not. I went to a technical school in my secondary school. I went to a technical school, so I don't have WAEC. I don't have NECO. I have NAPTEP. That was what I used. So they did not accept NAPTEP, but if you have WAEC or NECO that is between certain years, I think some people will say within 10 years or thereabout. So maybe from, let's say from 19 something to maybe 2005, 2000 and something like that. Some school will accept it and then waive the IELTS for you. But you must have C in English. So if you have C in English in your WAEC and then it's between maybe 10 years or thereabout, they can waive it for you. So me, I wrote IELTS because I did not have WAEC, I don't have NECO, I have NAPTEP, and they did not accept NAPTEP results. So what I did was I registered for a training. So I'm based in Abuja, and Abuja, they have different center. I just research. I do research a lot. That's the truth. So I just go on social media and started looking for a center, IELTS center in Abuja, where I can go for physical classes. And I came across one just at Wuse, and then I went there, and then I checked. I went there, I checked, and I asked question. I registered. So I went for the training. I went for the training. I think they did morning, they had morning class, they had afternoon class, and they had evening class because I was going to work also. So I subscribed for the evening class. So I went there, I did the training, and then I wrote the IELTS. And luckily for me, I passed in first sitting. I had people who came back, like they did not pass in first sitting, they came to write again. So if you don't meet a particular, because different school required different cutoff mark. Like my school, I think for speaking, they needed, for speaking was 8.0 or thereabout, for writing like 6, for, there's another one, I think there are 4 criteria. So they have different cutoff mark. So once you are not able to meet up the cut, if you meet up 3 and you don't meet up 1, they cannot accept you, right? So what I did was I had the training for it, and then I wrote, and then I got selected. But for some schools, like I mentioned, they can waive it for you. If you study C, if you have C in English, and then you have either WAEC or NECO, and it's also within the year range that they are looking for, they can waive it for you. But if you don't have it, you might need to write it.
Okay, thank you very much. I will have another wonderful question here. This person is asking, if I have a goal for two community development parts, is it possible to have a niche on the two and still make a headway? For example, I have a passion for quality education, but I wouldn't want to just settle or choose a career in education. Would you prefer that of health, or how can one go about it? Don't know if I related my question rightly.
Yeah, so thank you, Abayomi. I think I understand the question. And what I would say
Yeah.
is it's very confusing because it's like you're trying to do everything. And then you cannot put all the thought in one application. Even the reviewer will look at it like this person does not know where he or she is going, right? Because you cannot talk about, except you have a way of linking health to education, which means that you will still need to focus on one thing. So if you have a way of linking health to education, maybe you are trying to provide food for students in school because it's actually food that make them not to stay in school. So if you're able to provide food for them, it will give them that good health, the nutrition and all of that to be able to stay in school. So in the end, you're still linking it to one thing, which means you literally need to focus on one thing. Because the application will ask you of your long-term goal, your short-term goal, your medium-term goal, and you're not going to talk about health, you're not going to talk about education. And also, your application will also ask you to choose a particular course you want to study, and then talk about that course, why you want to study that course, right? And then course in education is quite different from course in health, and that will be confusing. So you will need to choose one. So if you want to, have passion and then in education and then passion in health, you might do health aside. But if you want to go to study, you have to focus on one. You have to use one to make your application, even while you are doing the other one by the side. So the other one can be like the passive one, while one is the active one. So the passive one can just be maybe for health, you have interest in health, you support people in health, but the active one you are doing is the education, whereby if you're applying for anything, maybe scholarship, fellowship, you focus on the active one, while the other one just serves as a passive one, because you need one direction, one focus, and that will help you to talk about whatever you are talking about and be able to defend it and provide data and statistics. Because some of these applications, you need to provide statistics, you need to provide data on the problem, and this will also help, back up your application very well. I don't know if I answered that question.
Yeah, I think you did. Okay, yeah, we have another one here. I think this should be the last question. This person is asking, how long does it take to write and get test results? I'm sure this person is talking about that IELTS exam. Is it a must to take the training first? Because there is no center here in Benin. Is it possible to train virtually and go to the physical center to take the test?
Yeah, definitely. You can train virtually. So I have friends, I have a tutor. My tutor is currently in Canada. And then when he was in Nigeria, he used to train people virtually. But you can also, they have virtual training on YouTube and all of that. But I would advise you to have a physical, not really a physical, but a human tutor. You can reach out to. People can do an online kind of training, but the person is not just on YouTube and all of that. The person come on Zoom with you, just the way we are doing this meeting today, and then the person trained you, because there are certain things that they will tell you in that training that YouTube will not tell you, right? There are certain questions they will tell you always come up that YouTube will not tell you. And then there are certain practices, because those people that train will give you some past questions to go and practice with. And then they will tell you that some of these questions always come up, but it might not come up this way. They might refer, but you will definitely see it. And all of those practices will help you, right, when you go for the physical exams. So I would advise, even when I also did YouTube study too, but I had someone that the physical one. So I would advise, even if you are studying in YouTube, you should also look out for someone that can teach you virtually, and then give you some of those tips, because these people don't just teach, they give you the tips. They've been in this path for a while and they understand how it works, so they'll give you some of those tips that will guide you. And then for how long, it depends on you. I think the application opens up, I think it's monthly or thereabout. For me, I started my training like the first week of March, and I wrote like towards the ending of March. So it was not that I just did only 3 weeks training, and then I wrote like the ending of March, right? So it's not that long. I think it actually depends on when you want to write it and when your school requires it. So you can look at the timeline when your school requires it, and then also when you want to write it and then put in. There are some people that did 2 months training before they want to go for it. But me, I only did 3 weeks, and ending of March, I wrote it. So I think you can also check their site. They always put like the exam dates, so you will know how long you might want to take the training, if you want to take it 1 month later, 2 months later, or thereabouts.
All right, thank you so much for the session. Thank you very much. We are happy to have you here for this month's mentorship session. Thank you so much. It was quite impactful.